Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 61st episode of the Online Tennis Podcast. Today, I am joined by Damian Kust. Hi, Damian. How you doing?
Hey, excited to talk about these draws, which I have already, glanced through, but this will definitely also help me realize more of what's to come during the upcoming fortnight.
Brilliant. Yeah, Damian is, of course, referring to the US Open draws, the men's singles and the women's singles. Unfortunately, I can't quite probe Damian for the qualifier insight I would like, of course, because we don't have the qualifiers on the draw yet, but we are doing them just before they've been released. We'll still have plenty to talk about. Dark horses, picks for first rounds, people we think are going to go through, etc. Happy to dive in, Damian.
Yeah.
We'll start on the men's singles, so I'll do it quarter by quarter. Starting on the first quarter, we have got Medvedev as the top seed there, and then on the other side, Auger-Aliassime. First thing that stands out to me, Damien, if I was going to talk about a few first rounds, Kyrgios Kokkinakis. How do you feel about that?
I don't know. I mean, matches between friends often get a bit weird.
Yeah, there's it seems like the friendship sometimes is left on
Yeah,
the wayside. That's
the
true.
players know each other so well. They've practiced with each other so much. They've played doubles in this case with
Yeah,
each other so much. So it gets weird. It gets a little bit more even than it usually should be. But
yeah.
still, on their current forms, you gotta think
You
Kyrgios
gotta, you
through. But
gotta think, Nick.
it's certainly a bit of a. I mean, I'm sure he actually would have preferred getting someone else, maybe even someone
Yeah.
slightly stronger than someone with whom the match. It will be tough to get agitated. It will be tough to just get fired up for this.
I'm sure he'll find a way to get agitated. Damien, we'll see. He seems to
Oh,
be.
Kyrgios will,
Yeah,
yeah.
he'll
Sure.
find a way. Going through a few of the other first round picks. One of the ones I had my eye on was PCB Team. To be honest, I don't really see Team having much of a chance there. If I'm being really realistic, just given the last few matches he's played. However, PCB will chalk that last loss down to him winning the Montreal Masters. But if there is something else going on, his second serve just went completely haywire. I mean, more so than I've ever seen in any other match. 13 double faults. Who knows? Maybe there's an after effect of that, and team squeaks through somehow. I'm still. It's probably definitely PCB that's going to get through there. The other one as well, Bublik Gaston. Should I be that excited about that, Damien? I feel like it could be a bit of a damp squib, or it could be the best match of the first round.
I don't know. I'm probably not gonna watch it,
Yeah,
honestly.
fair enough.
I mean, there's gonna be a bit of clownery, of course. There's going to be a lot of good trick shots, which we can assume that, but
Yeah,
I don't expect the quality to be high with how they've been doing recently.
yeah,
As
fair.
for PCB team, yeah, I'm not even that excited for it because I just think that Carreno Busta should be winning this pretty easily, but
Yeah,
yeah, of course, on paper it's amazing and it has the potential to be amazing. I mean, of this
yeah.
quarter and first rounds in this quarter, I absolutely love Wolf against Bautista Agut.
Yes, yeah. I
It
was just
also
about to ask
has
you about
like,
that.
yeah, it also has the potential to be amazing, but also has the potential to be absolutely trash if JJ
Yeah, I
is on
mean,
one of his bad days. But they've played this year, right?
no idea.
Miami,
Can't
Indian
remember.
Wells, something like this.
Right. Was it a one-sided affair?
And oh, absolutely not. It was a deciding tiebreak, I think, and
Oh, really?
maybe even he had some match points, or I don't know. Wolf
Oh,
definitely led by Wolf definitely had a huge lead. Can't remember if it was
yeah.
match points. If I, no, I actually believe it was like a set. No, or maybe not a set. Maybe he led by a break in one of the sets, which he if he won he would have gotten this. I can't remember, but it was definitely a deciding set win for RBA. So
Wow.
we have some idea there that
Yeah.
this can be close if JJ is on his game, because that's really who he is, right? If he is on his game, if he's feeling the ball, then he
Hmm.
can pretty much hang with anyone. But yeah, this is one where you can't really predict that it will be close, because it
Yeah.
really can be from very lopsided to extremely tight.
Yeah. I'll move us on to one question that was on my mind. Is Medvedev in trouble here? I feel like the first three rounds are probably all right. Ben Shelton I was impressed by, but I still see Medvedev finding a way through him if that did happen in the third round. What I'm most scared of for Medvedev personally, RBA or Kyrgios, either of them could get through. To be honest, RBA would probably be scarier for me than a Kyrgios fourth round, just given the matchup. And then PCB as well in the quarters. Two guys historically he has really, really struggled against. If they were to get through, obviously PCB would have to get through FAA if that were to happen. If it were FAA, we'll see. But do you think I'm right to be a bit scared, or do you think Medvedev will make it happen?
Yeah, before the draw, I was pretty much, I pretty much felt like, okay, whatever it is, I'm picking Daniil Medvedev to win the US Open. I think he's sort of due a good result, and well,
Yeah.
In best of five, it's going to be much tougher to upset him. But when I saw who was in his quarter, I'm not so sure anymore. Definitely not. Yeah, I
Mm.
also don't think Shelton has any chance against him over a best of five match. He's just not really at that level of consistency yet.
Yeah.
But with the draw he has, he can certainly get to the second round, to the third round to face him, and that would
Yeah.
be an amazing match, of course, for the marketability of Ben Shelton.
Yeah.
How people in the States would definitely tune in to see it. In the first two rounds, Medvedev shouldn't be in any trouble either.
No.
But yeah, whether it's Kyrgios, who of course has been playing some amazing tennis this year, who already defeated him this month,
Yeah.
and Bautista Agut, whom he's always had a terrible record against, like against most other flat hitters.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I dislike. I still have my concerns when it comes to Kyrgios with how he will handle the conditions in New York in terms of the weather, the heat,
Yeah.
and that's sort of a problem, if especially if they play at night and a five setter, like that's where
Yeah.
the physicality can really be a huge asset for Medvedev. He's obviously done very well in New York before, so he at least we know that he enjoys these conditions. But so is he.
Mm-hmm.
In 2019 he was in the final. 2020 he's in the semis, and last time he won it. So of course he feels great in New York. And
Yeah.
Bautista Agut, in that regard, could probably give him a tougher time than Kyrgios, but still, just purely level wise, right now, Kyrgios is insanely dangerous, and maybe he can finish the match early. Yeah, I'm not so sure Medvedev gets through the forefront anymore. That's for sure.
Yeah. So you're cautious as well.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll say before we move on to the quarter, dark horse pick, if you have one, Damien, I am looking at Rusevori as a danger. Obviously, there's no guarantee he gets through that first round with Draper, but I mean, he's impressed me every time I've watched him play. I think he had a pretty bad loss today, actually, or yesterday maybe, to Manorino, which maybe knocks my confidence a little bit. However, when he's in full flow, obviously, I think he hits the ball bigger on the forehand than pretty much 90% of the tour. So he'll have a chance, and obviously had that Auger-Aliassime match in Australia. Almost had it. I think he had match points possibly, and if we got a rematch of that, who knows? He might get a bit of revenge. Are you looking at anybody else? Lehechka maybe kind of came to mind for me, but
Not really. I mean, either Draper or Rusevori, they can
yeah,
beat Auger-Aliassime. It's certainly not the perfect round to draw for Felix. I have no idea who will win this first round, because it honestly just seems like a pick'em. Obviously, Draper is still in Winston-Salem, so that could be a bit of a problem for him if he gets to the final, if he gets even to the semifinals, because fatigue, because of the accumulated fatigue, but also Draper hasn't been exactly the healthiest player on tour for now, so that's an issue. Whether there are any other potential dark horses here, I mean, it's hard to pick someone like Ugo Humbert when there's Kyrgios and Bautista Agut in his section. I don't think it's impossible. He's been playing very well in Grand B this week. He's in the quarters now. Just won his first two matches.
yeah. But he is obviously playing a level down
Oh
quite
yeah,
a lot of the
yeah.
time.
But
Yeah,
it's
so
still he actually managed to gain some confidence. I'm not
yeah,
sure if anyone in Grand B will actually stop him, because it's. I mean, he's facing Moria in the quarters now, and then like Dugas or Diallo. He should get to the final fairly easily. Maybe in the final someone can beat him, but he's gonna arrive fairly confident actually, which is a very very different to how he's been all year. That's for sure. Yeah, but still with Kyrgios and Bautista Agut in his section, I don't really see that, and yeah. I think we have to stick with the winner of Draper Rusuvuori as the potential dark horse in
Yeah,
this quarter.
I'd agree, yeah. Right, moving swiftly on to the second quarter, the first topic of discussion for me, and obviously a lot of people who listen to the podcast, is that Andy Murray doesn't have the worst draw in the world. I'm sorry to say it, but the first 3 rounds are actually within his grasp. To some extent, obviously it's probably not likely to happen, but if he'd been drawn Tsitsipas in the first round, for example, I would have been I would have said that was it basically for him. But Cerundolo in a hard court is winnable. It totally is. And then Millman obviously is quite a decent matchup for Andy. Berrettini not playing the best in the third. Okay, we'll just say he curtains in the fourth round. If he plays Tsitsipas, fine. But if he were to get through those first 3 rounds, that would be absolutely fantastic for us fans. We wouldn't take anything less than that, or anything more than that, obviously. Sorry. Am I being too optimistic, Damien? Am I underrating Cerundolo? Cerundolo is good. I know he is, but it's a winnable round.
It is a winnable round for sure. I think for me it's very close in the opening round. It wouldn't really have been close if not for Andy's showing in Cincinnati, because honestly, after Washington and Montreal, I was certainly quite disappointed in
Oh
what he
yeah,
was playing on the
the
court.
Fritz loss was terrible.
Yeah, and again in Cincinnati, we've seen that in very hard conditions to bear in terms of the weather, he struggled. I don't know if it will be the case as well in New York. I think Fran is probably way better prepared physically at this point of their careers.
Yeah,
The opening round, I'm not thrilled about it. Like I don't really share the optimism that maybe not you, because you mentioned that Cerundolo can certainly be dangerous, but I saw quite a bit of optimism on Twitter among Murray fans, and I don't really
right.
share it in terms of the first round. But yeah,
Yeah,
obviously, if he wins it, like, either against Milman or Nava, that's a great opportunity. That's a
yeah,
fantastic opening for either of them. And then Berrettini also has a couple of rounds where he can really play himself into form. So
yeah,
if they are to meet in the third round, then I'd actually definitely favor Matteo, even though he, well, his warm up swing was pretty awful. But if he can play
mm-hmm.
Delian and then Echeverry or Andujar, so basically clay court specialists in the opening rounds, then I think he can probably find his groove again.
Yeah. The player really to watch for me, if I'm being realistic, is probably Taylor Fritz. I think Taylor Fritz has got a pretty decent run to the fourth. Obviously, Van de Zandschulp is pretty dangerous for anybody. However, Fritz should find a way through. Against Ruud, Paul, Corda, I would make him the favourite by a little bit. I think all of those could be tight, but still, I'd fancy him to get to the quarters. And then against Tsitsipas or Berrettini, again, I think I'd pick Taylor. I think Taylor Fritz is probably going to make it through. That's my story of this quarter. I don't know if you'd agree with that, maybe Damien, but I just think, yeah, if he's playing well enough, if he's playing anything like some of the form he's showing, certainly in some of his matches recently, then I think he's got a really good chance.
Yeah, I think Fritz here is this sort of pick where when you come up with it, it sort of feels like it should be unpopular, but then you actually realize that everyone is picking the guy to make the semis here.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's
no,
really
it's not a dark horse anyway.
yeah, it's not really a dark horse anymore. Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah,
had this, like, someone just asked me for that. They were compiling some predictions from different people and asked me for a dark horse, a winner, disappointment, and like who's gonna be the best out of the polls. And I was like, can I put Taylor Fritz in dark horses? And then I felt like, no, I I can't do that
yeah,
anymore. This
he's
is,
up there.
yeah,
He's up there.
this year he's just completely, he's shifted up a gear to join the elite. He showed it first, finally getting that second week of a major, then obviously Wimbledon, where if he wasn't well, if his mental if mentally he was ready for it, he probably would have played the semifinal instead of Nadal. But I believe that
Yeah,
this experience can also make him stronger. After all, he was still pretty new to the second weeks of slams. And yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I
It's true.
totally agree that he has a very workable draw. Van de Zandschulp is probably his toughest opponent until the quarters, because I don't think Ruud or Tommy Paul are at that level. The first few rounds should be very pleasant, unless it's like unless it's like one of the most dangerous qualifiers. But we shall see. I can
Yeah.
only think like
I'm still looking a wee bit at Corda. I am still looking a little bit at Corda. Like he could be dangerous. To be fair, I feel like we've not seen the very best of him yet. But when he's on, he's fantastic.
yeah,
Like
but the chance
seriously,
that he gets to round 4 to play Fritz,
unlikely.
I
Yeah,
don't know. You just rarely see him pulling together like a few good performances in a row these days. So that's why
I
I'm
know.
not really
I
looking at him. But
I, I was just gonna say, I feel like we are due that one big tournament from Corda. I feel like he will have that breakout sooner rather than later. It's been a little bit wishy washy from him recently, a little bit spotty in form, but his game's just a little bit too good for me to kind of ignore him completely. Is basically all I mean. I think he could put it together at one tournament in the future. US would be a nice one. That's all I'm thinking. And yeah, the dark horse. Yeah, I've just said them. Corda and Murray maybe are my dark horses. Not much of a surprise there. We'll move on to the
I actually
third quarter, really, because we've
have
talked
someone
about that.
else.
Unless you've got one,
Yeah,
Damien.
I have
Go.
someone
Yeah.
else. How about Maxim Cressy beating Stefanos Tsitsipas in the third round?
Yeah, no, totally. I did think about that. I mean, yeah, Cressy could beat anybody on his day, really. I totally
And I
agree with
actually
that,
think it's
Damien.
possible. Like I don't have any confidence that he'll get to the third round because with his style, it's always about a few points here or there. But
Fusovic
I
as well,
actually
yeah,
like the
good.
fact that he lost to Manarino in Winston-Salem today. I'm happy because, well, I'm happy. I'm happy because I really want that third round against Tsitsipas, and I feel like that's gonna save him the possible danger of being tired. And if they meet on a pretty quick court, because I feel like in recent years the U.S. Open has sped
Yeah,
up a bit, then the backhand
yeah,
return issues that we're constantly seeing with Tsitsipas maybe a big issue again. And yeah, and
yeah.
I don't really, I wasn't really too scared of the loss to Manarino today because, well, Manarino keeps the ball so low that it's obvious that for serving
Yeah.
volleyers, he's going to be a pretty
It's gonna be
pretty
tough.
tough
Yeah,
matchup. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Good pick, Damien. I did have a look at him. Still stick to my Russian roulette for Cressy. Could get through anybody, so we'll see. Third quarter, I'd like to talk about. First thing that comes to mind immediately, because it's right at the top of the draw, is Hurkacz Oscar Otta in the first round. That is an absolute stinker for Hurkacz, and is the reason that I fancy the chances of Jannik Sinner a little bit more than him in that fourth round encounter if it does happen. I don't think there's any guarantee Hurkacz gets through, especially sort of playing somebody who can serve the ball as big as Oscar as Otta even as well. It really could just be a toss up, a 5-set match maybe if he's not playing well enough from the start. I don't fancy that one at all, Damien. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, 2 months ago I would be scared as hell, but Otte hasn't
Mm-hmm.
played since Wimbledon. I mean, he took part in a few Bundesliga matches at the beginning of July, but then we haven't seen him. So it's just really hard to tell what he'll bring to the court, whether he's showing up. Well, he's not showing. Even if he was showing up not fully fit, then it wouldn't be just for the prize money. He's actually defending round 4 points from 2021, so the stakes will be huge for him. But yeah, after not playing for a couple of months, I don't know. I just don't feel like he's that dangerous. But of course, there is the chance that somehow he's just going to arrive not rusty and fully ready to play this. And Hurkacz definitely doesn't have an easy draw in the opening rounds. Ivashka still dangerous. I don't know if some query poses any threat at this point in time.
Curry's
Probably
a bit
not.
out of form, I
But yeah,
think. Yeah,
Goffin, an opponent he has sometimes struggled against in the past. Manarino,
yeah.
someone who definitely beat him at a slam this year, right? Australian Open. And just someone he
Is it Manarino? Oh, it was
yeah,
Manarino.
someone he
Yeah,
hates
yeah,
playing against. So I'm not a fan of this draw. But then again, it's not really like he's getting I don't know, no, he couldn't get Nick Kyrgios, but this isn't really someone. He's going to be the favorite against all of these guys, but there are definitely some
yeah. He
some
will be.
traps in there.
Yeah, yeah. No, so for me, still, given the fact that Hurkacz's got such
Hmm.
a tough draw, Sinner has got to be my pick. Altmaier in the first round, I still think he should win that. Martinez in the second round as well, as more of a clay pedigree player. He's still a bit dangerous, but then yeah, Dimitrov, Nakashima, Johnson, I'd make him the favourite against any of them. by quite a margin. I really fancy
And
Sinner's
what if
chances of
Hurkacz
getting
plays
through there.
Sinner in the fourth round?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think it's more about the fact I'm not sure if Hurkacz gets there.
Mm.
If they do play, it'll be really tough to call because the conditions are quick enough that Hurkacz could hold his own for long enough to make it difficult for Sinner. But I mean, Sinner was fantastic in quick conditions. Like, well, it's a very different ball game to Wimbledon, obviously, but when he can use his power to just absolutely, blow his opponent off the court, he can be super, super difficult to beat. So and the returning prowess of him as well, he might just be able to wrangle his way into enough Hurkacz games to make himself the winner there. I fancy Sinner's chances. I think I would put him the favourite against Hurkacz. Maybe that's big words. The other thing I wanted to talk about, that Alcaraz Coric third round possibility. Is it the third round or the fourth round? It's the fourth round. Sorry, is
Third.
that right? No, it's
Third.
the third round. It's the third round. Yeah. I don't know if Carlos gets through that. I really don't. If Coric plays anything like he did in Cincinnati, then he's so solid. Alcaraz has shown that he's been a little bit up and down recently. Just can't really tame his aggression as much as he would like. I mean, Coric could get through that for sure. I was drawing parallels between Coric and Novak very recently, in the last podcast episode I did, and I think it's apt, and it is the sort of matchup that could go 5 sets, and it could go either way for either player. Definitely. Is that maybe too generous? You feel the same way, maybe?
In the aforementioned predictions that I was asked to do, I picked Borna Coric as my dark horse. so yeah, I absolutely agree that if I don't know, if they were to play tomorrow, I'd say that Borna Coric is maybe even the favorite of this match. But well, there is a pretty big clause there that he needs to serve and he needs to play his forehand as aggressively as he did throughout the week in Cincinnati. I'm not sure he will do that, just because in June he had this amazing challenger that he won in Parma, and he was playing pretty much the same as in Cincy. I mean, level wise, you could probably debate it. Like I don't know. I'm just talking about these two things: the forehand and the serve. In his prime, he was a very passive player. Injecting pace from the forehand was definitely his weak spot, and the serve wasn't really giving him that much either. And he seems to have fixed these things. At least in these 2 weeks, he was able to do that. But between them, it didn't really look like that. So I am a bit cautious, but yeah, if he's playing at the level he was in Cincinnati, then I can totally see him beating Alcaraz and going further, because honestly, outside of Cilic, there's not much. Well, there aren't really that many players in this section that could trouble him. And yeah, if he's, again, I know a lot of people would say that he won Cincinnati and now everyone is like, yeah, Borna Coric. The same with, I don't know, Karim Garcia, whom we're probably going to talk about. And I feel like a lot of people will consider this a bit of a lazy pick. Like, that they will think that it's impossible that Coric plays like that again. They will think that it's impossible that Garcia plays like that again. I don't know. I mean, we have to wait and see, but that level from Cincinnati can get him very, very far in this event.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned Cilic as well, because dark horse pick for me, if it counts as a dark horse pick, obviously a US Open former champ, but Cilic is in a decent part. He's in a decent part of the draw. He could play himself into form for sure, and obviously after the French, it's so impossible to count Marin out of any slam draw. In quicker conditions, obviously, if he played like that in the French, this should be his home turf. He's got some pretty decent opponents for the first 3 rounds. I'd say Dan Evans definitely beatable. So he could be dangerous by the time he gets to the fourth round for sure. I really don't think I fancy Brooksby to get through though. It's a shame because he's in a pretty rough part of the draw, playing Coric and then potentially Alcaraz if he got through that. It's difficult to see him winning against either of those opponents, I think. I don't know if I'm right to just completely dismiss him, but I feel like I don't think I think he'll get overpowered, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's also why I'm pretty comfortable picking Coric as, I don't know, a dark horse, or just talking about him here, because it just doesn't seem like he can really lose in the first 2 rounds, even if his quality isn't as high again as in Cincinnati. I mean, I even think that I actually see him like I can see him losing against a couple of the qualifiers rather than Brooksby.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. Okay, on to the final quarter of the men's draw. This part we have Norrie is the first thing that comes to mind at the top there. Pretty easy draw for Norrie, I would say. The only thing that could be dangerous, in my opinion, is Isner, who I would consider the dark horse of this section, actually. Again, conditions a little bit quicker. Isner could find his way through pretty much anybody he's against in the first 3 rounds if he's playing well enough. Norrie probably the most challenging of the lot, I would say. Certainly Holger Rune there in the second round. I would actually consider them the favourite there. Definitely. It's not that much of a surprise pick to see he's the favourite there, but still, yeah, I mean, it's quite an interesting part of the draw as well, because then that next section you've got Shapo and Rublev as the seeds, and both of those players are really. I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking Rublev's unreliable in the form he's in, to be honest. I kind of just thought it was a bit of a patch, but he has come out in various matches recently and not looked entirely convincing. So I really don't know, especially against somebody as solid as Jera in the first round. I don't even know if he makes it through that. It's quite difficult to back him at the moment. And Chapo, obviously, everybody knows how he's playing at the moment. I suppose he made that quarter, but still, in Montreal or Cincinnati, one or the other. I think if Cam Norrie can take advantage, or Isner, one of those two, I would fancy either of them to come through to the quarter final there. Is that your pick, Damien? Do you feel the same way? Have you got somebody else in mind just to get through to the quarter from that
yeah,
16th?
more or less. I mean, Norrie has just played a very tight match against Holger Rune, but well, again in the best of 5 format, I don't really see that happening.
Yeah,
Just on fitness alone, even game
yeah,
game two, of course. It's not like Cam has got. It's not like Cam made his way to the top 10 just by being just by outgrinding his opponents, but
yeah,
it's definitely an option that he can use to win matches, and against someone who's constantly struggling for fitness like Rune, it's going to be very important if they meet in the longest format that exists in tennis.
yeah,
And I do agree that neither of Shapovalov and Rublev scream out to me as very consistent, very safe picks to go deep.
yeah.
Shapovalov has a much tougher first round opponent than Rublev. I
Yeah,
mean,
is Whistler a little bit massive serve kind of
yeah, just
lot going
because of
on?
that. I mean, I don't know how I don't. It's not really about the comparison of his game between against his quality against guys like Jere or Kwon, but just the fact that if he serves well, it's
Yeah,
just gonna be a match where returning is going to be well for both of these guys. Return is definitely
yeah.
not a strong suit.
Chappos in particular, Chapo struggles to find the court
Yeah,
frequently on serves.
exactly. And Wessler plays well. He also doesn't really have any plan B. He has an
Yeah,
all or nothing playstyle as well, so I could definitely see that being an issue in this matchup for either. And Munar, in this form that he's been this year, he can grind down one of these guys. I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, maybe.
I feel slightly more confident about Rublev than Shapovalov, simply
Yeah,
because he's been winning the early rounds this year most of the time.
most of the time. Yeah,
Yeah, most of the time, and he just has a much stronger base level. But yeah, if I have to give a name from this part of the draw, it's certainly Norrie, and I think he should be very happy about this draw. Even
yeah,
if Isner is dangerous. If Shapovalov gets there, he's dangerous. If Rublev gets there, he's dangerous as well, of course.
yeah.
But yeah, I think as the seventh seed, you probably should be very happy with the way that the draw has come out here.
Yeah, I would say so too. And then, yeah, on the other side, of course, Rafa, the stat of the day, I just learned earlier on today, hasn't been knocked out before the quarters at a slam since 2017. So it has been a while, and really it's not looking like a bad 16th for him, I would have said. For me, the pick here to have any chance against Rafa, I feel like Tiafoe's got a chance. I fancy Tiafoe. I was saying this in the last pod. Tiafoe's had a lot of rough losses recently. I feel like something goes his way at some point. Every loss since the French Open has been 3 sets, bar one. He's just very close. He's kind of he's been an inch away basically from winning a lot of big matches. He's got a few big wins, but a lot of really really stingy losses. So I think he could be amazing. Like he loves playing in front of a home crowd. I really really I rate how well TFO could play. At the same time, Rafa's obviously the favourite, but that's my kind of dark horse pick there, if it counts as a dark horse pick, Damien. So anybody jumping out to you at all?
It probably comes. It probably counts as a dark horse pick. I honestly, it's a very good section as well for Nadal. I think he's
Yeah,
got a few rounds to just play himself into form, which is what he needs because obviously since Wimbledon we've only seen him on court once.
yeah,
Maybe he was super unlucky to draw Coric in Cincinnati simply, and maybe if he landed in a different part, then we would have seen that matchup a lot later in the event.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, obviously there's still some question marks in terms of fitness, injury, but yeah, if I see Nadal playing Hijikata and then Fonini or Karatsev, Fonini has beaten him at the U.S. Open before, but that was a very different Nadal. It feels, even though
yeah, definitely.
a lot a lot younger. Yeah, if I see Nadal having these two pretty straightforward rounds, even the third, honestly, even if it's Kecmanovic, it's not really, he's not really a player that can step out of his comfort zone and just redline his game, play super aggressive tennis. That's not really what Kecmanovic does on court, and that's probably not a play style that will do him a lot of favors against Nadal. So yeah, if I see him having 2-3 early rounds where he can just find the groove, then and I'm going just all in on him.
Yeah,
TFO Nadal is probably the biggest chance we have here for the upset. That
yeah,
that I can say, yeah.
yeah. On that note, we will move on to the women's draw. I think that's pretty much everything we can cover on the men's. If you've got the women's in front of you, Damien,
Yeah,
I'm happy to dive in the first quarter. Of course, Iga right at the top against Paolini in the first round. For me, Iga is under fire, certainly in this. I don't think Stevens is a given. Definitely Stevens can be obviously very, very good on a day, and the way Iga got rushed off the court by Keys in Cincinnati, I don't think the conditions suit her at all. I think if somebody's willing to go out there and hit the ball big, I wouldn't have said that would have worked earlier in the year. There would have had to have been other stuff going on, but any player who can hit the ball with a bit of oomph, certainly Stevens is one of them. I fancy her chances. Alexandra maybe not. So if she did come through that, I fancy her to get to the fourth. Even though obviously Alexandra she can hit it pretty hard, but given the flatness of her strokes, I'm not 100% sure if Swiatek can keep it heavy. Anyway, though, yeah, I'm getting sidetracked a little bit. Stevens for me is the dangerous one there, and then in the fourth round, so I mean, Anisimova could be there, could be Ostapenko, could be Qinwen Zheng, who is playing Ostapenko in the first round. That'll be an absolute cracker of a match in the first round. In fact, I might even pick Zheng there. I really don't know. I think actually, yeah, I would pick her. It's interesting. I think Swiatek's not got a definite chance of going through, and against a lot of these players, I don't know, I'd make it about 50-50 to be honest. Certainly Zheng is probably one of them if she's playing well enough. How do you feel about Swiatek's chances, Damien? Are you kind of in the same boat?
yeah, not a great draw, that's for sure. I think a lot of the girls just know right now that their second serve is very attackable. There's not really
Mm-hmm.
much you can do about it if you're Swiatek right now, because I guess to somehow improve it, you'd probably need a little bit of a longer training block or I don't know, a couple of events. And then she comes out here and Haddad Maya does it, Keys does it, even Garcia back in Warsaw on clay. Obviously, she sort of started this trend of going after Świątek. On quicker surfaces, the forehand
Mm-hmm.
can be rushed, of course, as it's been throughout her career. So yeah, not feeling confident. As you said, Stevens is dangerous. They've just played, and well, I think he got one in two sets, but it was still quite tight. I am scared of Alexandrova for sure. Like
Okay.
just the play style naturally is good against Świątek on quicker surfaces. I
Yeah,
think in
kind of
general
like
right
Keys.
now you just can't really give Iga any freedom to construct rallies or anything. If you just have to keep her keep her moving, keep her not really being able to play her game, and that's what
Yeah,
gets you that's what gets you a chance to win. It's whether
yeah,
you execute it right that determines whether you actually get that result. But yeah, fourth round seems like her. Well, if she gets there, that's gonna be a huge test. Whether it's Anisimova,
yeah,
whether it's Kim Van Zhenk, whether it's Ostapenko. Right now, I'd probably favor Zheng. I don't really. I hate the draw that Ostapenko got because playing Zheng then Potapova then Anisimova, for example. That seems like a death wish.
yeah,
And yeah,
definitely.
I don't really see Swiatek coming out to the quarters, but I would be happy if I'm pleasantly surprised when we reach the
Yeah,
quarters on Tuesday or whenever.
yeah, likewise, of course. For me, the pick here, if I was going to do a dark horse, just looking at that other 16th, I was banging on about her before the draw came out, and she has been given a pretty decent draw, is Clara Towson, who has been given Garbine Muguruza in the first round. Some chances definitely in the second round, and then maybe Kvitova in the third, but who knows? Kvitova certainly historically struggled in the heat a little bit. Not certain that she will come out with all guns blazing. So I think Towson's got a chance. Then again, though, obviously in the fourth round, to be honest, Pegula, she's not a dark horse, maybe, but she could have a really, if she stays steady, which that's her best trait. She'll have a chance against anybody playing the way she's playing. I think she's due a big result, definitely, and due a big win at a big event because she's the stat I had the other day against players ranked 1 to 15. She's like 2-8 this year, and against everybody else on the tour, or 15 to 60, I think she was 17 love. It'll probably be more than that now, something like that. So she was unbeaten basically against players ranked 15 to 60 this year. So she basically takes care of business against players she should be beating. So if she makes it to the quarters and she's got a pretty decent draw, she'll have a very good chance of getting through to the semi-finals. How do you feel, Damien? Have you got a dark horse pick at
Yeah, I
all?
mean, with Clara Towson, there's also the problem that she had a pretty long break. Just came back, so I don't know if she's ready for this just yet. It's pretty funny
Yeah,
that we consider drawing the ninth seed a good draw.
I
But
know.
I understand where you're
Yeah,
coming from. For me, it's probably like a 50-50 ish match at this point. But yeah, that's also because of the fitness issues. Kvitova, as you said, some of her performances in slams recently have been pretty disappointing. There's definitely
mm.
some space for a Bernarda Pera dark horse here. I mean, in recent months,
Yeah,
there's really no one has been as on fire as she's been.
yeah. I could see her getting rushed on a court like this. I just think clay suits her when it sits up. She can
Hmm.
totally load up and destroy the return sort of thing. I'm not 100% sure she'll get the
I mean,
same performance on these courts, Damien, is all I'm thinking. So I'm not sure about
we'll
Pera.
see
But
where she finishes in Cleveland, right? Is she's playing Cleveland,
yeah,
I think, and playing Canyon in the quarterfinals today. Um,
right, okay,
Obviously, she's won a lot recently,
yeah,
so that's just strictly on confidence. Do I like her game on hard courts? I think yeah, she's definitely focused on clay throughout her career, but she had a couple of nice results. Um, well, I watched her against Krejcikova yesterday, and it was really a bit of a mismatch. But whether that's
yeah,
a good way to gauge her level right now, I'm not sure because obviously Krejcikova isn't really at her best either. Elise Mertens should reach
yeah.
the third round as she always does, but yeah,
Of
Pegula
course,
looks amazing to me here. I
yeah,
wonder if this, just playing at home and having this good a draw is going
yeah,
to be in her head a bit because maybe at times in
mm,
the past it could have been. But as you said, I mean that just the consistency of results that she's getting, the way she's winning
yeah.
the early rounds pretty much every single time is amazing. And yeah, this is a perfect opportunity for her, and I definitely don't think that she counts as a dark horse anymore. She's like a
Yeah,
Taylor Fritz at this point, and no,
yeah, that's the comparison I made in my head as well.
yeah.
Actually, yeah, sort of a member of the top 10 who definitely deserves to be there. Yeah, second quarter. Moving on to Badosa as the top seed there, Sabalenka on the other side. For me, the player to watch might be Bencic. I think Bencic has got a pretty good draw in the first couple of rounds. Cirstea maybe, if she's hitting her backhand well enough. But yeah, I'm more thinking about the higher seeds there. Certainly Azarenka and Badosa both vulnerable in a fourth round. Pliskova, if she shows up, of course, Pliskova historically has been good at the US Open, but there's no guarantee that she does show up, just given she's had one good tournament basically in the last 6 months or something like that. Who really knows? Yeah, Bencic, the one to watch for me. Is there somebody you would be watching in particular? I mean, Rybakina actually as well has got a pretty decent draw if she's playing well enough. Damien, that's the other one I'm thinking of. Anybody else you're
So you're
looking at?
looking at the whole quarter right now.
Yeah, the whole
Okay.
quarter. Yeah.
If we're looking at just the third section, then honestly, I don't trust anyone in there. I can
Yeah, I
agree
mean,
that maybe
yeah,
Bencic. I sort of keep picking Karina Plishkova as someone who will do well at an event this year. Like
yeah.
I certainly figured that at some point she will get back to her form, and I think she sort of did.
She mentioned it as well,
In this
actually,
North American
Damien. I
swing,
was going
she's
to say
been
that.
very good. So I
Yeah,
don't necessarily like the draw because, well, Lynette is always a dangerous first round opponent, and I think she's proven it a couple of times this year. Obviously, Roland Garros is the prime example of that. And
yeah.
well, Buskova in the second round, someone who is counter punching as well as she is. Yeah, if Pliskova had a better draw, then this would certainly be my one. The pick that I would have for the quarters here. As she
Hmm.
has such a tough one, I can agree that Bencic is an option. She's just lost to Kirstea actually. So yeah, I just don't trust anyone in the top of that quarter. And in the
Yeah.
bottom, there are definitely names that could do well. Sabalenka, always capable of catching fire, but whether this is actually the form that can allow her to win a slam, I don't know. Rybakina again, who knows what she will bring to the court.
It's a Canepe
Oh
second round
yeah,
for
and
Sabalenka as well.
they've also
Yeah.
played a couple times, right?
They played in Australia, did they
Australia
not?
this
I'm
year,
pretty
and
sure.
Kanepi won. Yeah,
Yeah, Canepe won in a third set
yeah.
tiebreak.
So Kanepi is of course the ultimate giant killer at slams. Maybe
Yeah.
Raducanu, is that a possibility?
Mm, Corny in
I
the
know
first
that
round though.
the draw is just awful, but Raducanu would be another one of these. Like before the draw, I figured that she was probably going quite far, but yeah, drawing Cornet again, another one of these giant killers like Kanepi. This is pretty nasty.
So
Maybe it's
nasty.
time
So
that
nasty.
we start talking of Emma Raducanu as a U.S. Open lighter balls specialist because it kind of seems like she
Yeah,
loves
yeah.
them, and
It's
yeah,
a good
that's
point.
why I just figured that maybe she was going deep. But yeah, Cornet first round is
Yeah.
certainly quite an awful draw. Osaka, do I trust her to win a few matches in a row? It's possible, but yeah,
Collins is a good first round. I don't think Collins has been
yeah,
playing particularly well recently.
Osaka
I
is a
think
good.
she not been
Mhm.
nursing. Has she been nursing an injury or?
She had some issues for sure. I can't exactly remember,
Yeah.
but yeah, totally. The first two rounds are pretty good for Osaka, that's for sure. Then
Yeah.
either Cornet or Raducanu, that gets tough. Yeah, but generally in this quarter, there's like no one I can trust.
Yeah, it's very open. Very open. The other one as well, obviously, just for people who are interested, Venus Williams will be playing Alison van Uytvanck. Would be good to watch. Obviously, it'll be one of Venus's last appearances at the US Open, so should be worth watching, even if it's a one-way match. Definitely. Yeah, moving on to the third quarter, Simona Halep definitely jumps out here as the favourite for me. There's quite a lot going on here, actually, though. So Halep certainly pretty decent in the first few rounds. Marino big serve, I guess. Teichmann still should beat her, really. Then you've got a fourth round with Keys or Goff, and it's quite difficult to call from either of them if Keys is playing well enough. I thought Keys was really, really good in Cincinnati and seriously could be dangerous if she's playing well. But so many ifs with Keys, obviously, it's just how she turns up basically. Goff, though, of course, this could be our chance to get through. I thought Goff was smart to stop her injury from getting worse when she fell over in Cincinnati. So I think she's really taking her chances at the US Open incredibly seriously. If we were to get a Halep and Goff fourth round, I would have to pick. I actually don't know. I think I'd pick Goff. I think. But really, it's incredibly difficult to call, Damien. Have you got a choice out of Halep and Goff? Do you think Keys gets through Goff and that doesn't happen at all?
Yeah, I actually will get back once again to these predictions that I made right after the draw was out.
Uh-huh.
And I also had to do dark horse champion and disappointment for the women's draw. And for the men's, it took me probably like, I don't know, 3 or 5 minutes. And for the women's, I spent half an hour on my winner pick. And I was basically going back and forth between Halep, Kiss, and Goff, which
Okay, wow.
which is hilarious because they're all in the same section.
Yeah, geez, oh.
And yeah, if they were in different ones, then perhaps it also wouldn't be easy. But
Yeah,
because they were they were in the same, I was just absolutely, I had no clue what to do. I had keys, I had keys penciled down, and then I was like, no, if she is to play Goff and Halep, do I really think that's gonna happen?
yeah,
And I ended up going with Halep just because Keys and Goff are playing against each other in the third round if they get there, and also Halep beat Goff in, well, I think it was Toronto, right? And yeah, just it's just why I went there. But I think this, well, maybe these aren't like the three strongest players in the draw, but they have to be in the top 10, top 8. I don't know, and it's well, from one from one perspective, it's pretty nice that they're in the same section, because maybe we get some premium matches in the third round, in the fourth round.
yeah,
But yeah, I just have no idea who to go for here. They're both in all three of them are in great form, it seems.
yeah.
Goff has just really the level of consistency that she's showing this year. How high is she in the WTA race? Like number 3.
Must, yeah, she'll be up there in the top 5, definitely.
Okay,
Definitely in the top
actually, she
5.
has fallen out to number 6, but
Oh,
up until
okay.
recently, she was definitely in the top 3,
Yeah,
just a month ago or something. So yeah, just made the jump to a top 10 player this year. Keys, as you said, Cincinnati. She's done well at the U.S. Open before, of course. Someone who, if she has a nice rhythm, then no one really can touch her. And
yeah,
Halep, with that warm up in Toronto, I think she just displayed strength. And I think all year everyone has been sort of just waiting for Simona Halep to be back, and every single time
refind
it
her
was
form.
just, yeah, she was just lacking some tiny bit, and maybe that
Yeah,
tiny bit is now gone. And it's not like the
yeah,
quarter is even easy for them, because Goff can play Daria Saville this year. In the second round, I think she's had a very underrated year. Kisia Stremska, Kis Georgi, these are tough matchups as well. So
yeah,
Halep maybe has a slightly easier draw, so that's why I think that Halep is the likeliest to get out of this
yeah.
section, but it's just incredibly stacked compared to some other ones.
It's super tough. Yeah, I think the one other thing I'd say about Halep before we move on to the other
Yeah,
16th is that Halep has played bad matches, or certainly I didn't think she played the best match against Haddad Maya, for example, in the final, and she still found a way through. So she's getting to that point where her base level, at least when other stuff is going wrong, like she was double faulting a lot in that match, is still good enough to find her way through matches. That could be the difference where Halep has just sort of raised her game to the point where even on a bad day, she can still win matches. The other 16th though is also mad. It's a crazy quarter. Obviously, Sakari, maybe some people consider right up there as one of the favourites, but I'm not really sure. She does stick out obviously as the third seed. I'm more thinking about that other section with Haddad Maya, Andreescu, Garcia, all sort of lumped into a third round basically. Haddad Maya and Andreescu in the second round, and then the winner of that against Garcia. Any of them could be super dangerous. Maybe I'm going to underrate Andreescu a little bit, just given her results have been a little bit flaky recently. Haddad Maya could find her way through that, and maybe I wouldn't be too surprised. But Caro Garcia and Haddad Maya in the third round, I'd probably pick Caro Garcia there, I think, but I am saying that very, very hesitantly. And then probably Garcia in the quarter, and at that point, I think I'd still pick Halep or Goff. So it's an interesting section, Damien. Really interesting. I'm going to be very intrigued to see how that one pans out. I am going to move on to the fourth quarter very quickly, just so we can wrap up within the hour, hopefully.
Oh, so before I was also talking about the whole quarter, not just yeah, because I sort of focused on the
Yeah,
fifth section. But yeah, just to say one thing, I really
yeah, go.
want Caroline Garcia to keep up this form because
Yeah, so do I.
it would be such a bummer if after Cincinnati she just came here and had a first round exit. I also hope Haddad Maya isn't gonna do a Wimbledon 2.0.
Yeah,
But well, I guess this shouldn't be an issue because right now, well, before Wimbledon, she played in Eastbourne. Of course, she played 3 consecutive weeks in a row, and right now she
yeah,
had a break after Cincy first round exit, so should be rested up. And if we get Haddad Maya Garcia in the third round, then that's definitely a popcorn matchup. Even though for like TV viewers, TV ratings, it's probably not gonna be that huge. But I feel like this is the good, maybe not exactly hipster stuff, but like the real the real deal when it comes to third round matchups here,
okay. For
along with
people who've been following,
Pliskov, of course.
I was going to say, for people who've been following the tour, they'll know that third
Yeah,
round's going to be absolutely brilliant. That's the thing. Yeah, fourth quarter is also pretty tough to pick for me, to be honest. The first thing I would say is that Jabur's form has been pretty questionable. So for those that want Jabur to go through as a favourite, I really don't think it's a given. And certainly Rogers kind of sticks out there as a third round. Rogers, if she is not, I don't want to say nervy, but the fact is she went out of the US Open pretty badly last year because she was nervous in that quarter final. I think maybe early on she could pull off the upset quite easily, to be fair, if the pressure's not stacked on her, because she did the same thing. But yeah, if Rogers is playing well, she serves well enough, definitely, that she could be really, really big problems for Jabeur for sure. But then, yeah, the other person I really was paying attention to was Kasatkina. Kasatkina obviously won in Washington, but some maybe say with hard courts isn't her strong suit. I don't know. I think she's got the variety at the moment and the weight of shot and the forehand to be a bit of a problem for a lot of those players in the first few rounds. I could see her getting to the fourth round without batting an eyelid for sure. And then if Jabeur is out of form, if Rogers doesn't get through, and yeah, I could see Kasatkina getting through. I don't know if you feel the same way about that small 16th there, Damien. Is there anybody else you're looking at? Somebody I've missed?
yeah, about that small 16s, I probably feel a similar way. I was thinking of Kudermetova. She's up until recently she was in the top 10 in the WTA race, which
Yeah,
doesn't really feel right when you think about it.
I can't remember. I can't remember a result that would put her there. To be honest,
Yeah,
I
because
think she
it's
made
really
the
been
quarters of Indian
she
Wells
went
or
very
something.
deep in wait, what it was. Well, she was in the quarters at the French, but there was also a final someplace. I mean, there were a couple of smaller finals, but there was a big final, one of the hard, yeah, maybe Indian Wells, definitely
Yeah,
one of the hardcourt events either in February or in March. But yeah,
yeah,
when you thought about it, it just didn't really seem like she would be this far, and she's sort
yeah,
of gotten there by picking up just consistently picking up quarterfinals, semifinals on the tour, which is an amazing feat. But I just don't really think that she has the game to win this event unless the draw
yeah,
really opens up. And yeah, this is another one of these sections where it's just really hard to say what would happen. Of course,
yeah,
Kasatkina is having a fantastic year. She's also done much better than Jabeur in the warm ups. Rogers is definitely a pick. It's fine. It's pretty nice to see her seated for once because usually she's also
yeah. No, yeah. Only just
yeah,
made it.
one of these players who catches the higher seats off guard in the opening
Yeah,
rounds. But right now, it's not really the problem.
yeah. Yeah, on the other 16th as well, there's a lot going on there. I've certainly got a dark horse pick. I will get onto that in a second. But we do have Serena Williams in the first round against Kovinic. For me, that's 50-50. Maybe that's bold. I don't care though. I think if Serena Williams is pumped up enough, she was pretty bad against Raducanu to be fair. But Kovinic is the sort of player she could beat. Kontaveit, not so much. But Kovinic, yeah, I give her a chance there, Damien. I'm going to rate her. I don't know if you feel the same way or do you think she's going out in the first round?
I think she has a like. She really couldn't have asked for a, well, maybe not an easier draw because there's Kontaveit and all, but counting how Annette hasn't really been at the top of her
She's not
game
been in form
recently,
at all, I know, but
yeah, and how it's also like a big name that will, well, get the crowd there. Of course, the crowd would have been there anyway, but it would just the whole atmosphere of the match will be elevated with that. I feel like the perfect draw that Williams could have gotten to. I don't know, reach the
Yeah.
fourth round here, reach the third round here. I don't know what she's capable of, but it's possible with this sort of draw with Kovinic, who has been struggling with health recently. Not really winning matches in the last couple of months. This is a really nice opening for her. Like this is it's not perfect, of course. There are weaker sections, but I think
Yeah.
she's actually capable of winning 2 or 3 rounds. And as you said, it's pretty much certain that she's going to be very fired up for this. This is her last event. I mean,
Yeah.
um, she's not gonna hold off. She's just gonna throw everything out on the court, and
Yeah.
that could get her a few rounds here, I think.
Yeah, maybe two. I think Tomljanovic or Mukova could be a
Yeah.
problem in the third round, to be fair. But yeah, if she gets that far, that's a win, of course. Beating Annette Kontaveit in the second round would be a pretty big deal. Yeah, Kontaveit, though, no guarantee how she shows up, so we'll see. Yeah, as far as somebody to actually get through to the quarters, though, Fernandez is in a really tough spot. Dodan, obviously, massive hitter of the ball. Like, if she's playing well enough, I just think she's a little bit too up and down, to be honest, to beat Fernandez. But Samsonova in the second round, absolutely capable of beating Fernandez if she's playing well enough for me. In fact, I'm really fancying Samsonova's chances because she's been given a pretty decent draw, all things considered. Obviously, Fernandez is no pushover, but she'll have a very good chance of winning that, I think. And then same for anybody in the other half of that 16 for me. And then in the quarters, we have no idea who's going to get through to the quarters, of course. So Samsonova, pretty high up on my list, to be honest, Damien. I don't know if you feel the same way. Have you got another dark horse pick possibly at
I mean,
all?
it's totally possible, of course. She's got a very high risk playstyle as well, so there's always the concern that she just loses to someone she perhaps shouldn't. I think there's also a pretty big chance that Fernandez goes deep again. Um, I think maybe even compared to Raducanu, whom I was saying that with the balls that she really enjoys, I would say the player out of these two who has the higher chance of winning this year's U.S. Open is actually Fernandez. Just a much more solid level in terms of the floor, and I think the quarter is pretty nice for her as well. Like if she gets through Samsonova, which is certainly she it's not an opponent she will like matchup wise, but if she gets through there, I wouldn't really put it past her to make the quarters semis to go extremely deep in New York again.
Yeah, definitely. I think the rest of the draw there, it doesn't look totally awful, apart
Yeah.
from maybe the quarter final, Rogers, Kasatkina, maybe even Hubert. Who knows? Right, Damien, before we totally finish this podcast episode, I would just ask you maybe for a men's and women's winner pick, if that's okay. Who are you thinking for the men's?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I already said that I picked Halep earlier on.
Mhm.
Whether I still agree with this, I was considering, as I said, go for Keys. I was considering Garcia.
Yeah,
My initial instinct was just I don't want to go Świątek because obviously in this form. But then when I looked at the rest of the draw, I just realized that this is a lottery, and
yeah,
then yeah, you can just really pick 40 women here and justify it. I am still going to stick with Halep. I think that Toronto run was uh, exactly what it felt like she was close to the whole year. It felt like
yeah,
a
just
good
never
run for
had.
her was just around the corner, and yet she couldn't
Yeah,
really quite do it. There were some different things like the panic attack. There were some injuries, but finally she's done it, and I think she's a big threat to win here. And when it comes to the men's, yeah, as I said earlier, I thought that it was going to be Medvedev before I saw the draw, but I certainly
mm-hmm.
am not happy about how it's, from his perspective, I wouldn't really be happy about how he's, which rounds were this, which rounds were it? The fourth
Fourth
round
round
as
was
the
it
quarters,
Kyrgios?
yeah. I mean, the quarters is
Yeah,
actually it's pretty nice. But Kyrgios or Bautista Agut in the fourth round, That sounds kind of tough, and
Yeah.
I'm not confident he will get through. So I will just go Nadal, because as I said before, he just has a few, at least three easy for his standards rounds where he can play himself into form, and that's just enough for me to pick Nadal in a year where he basically hasn't lost like any matches. So
Yeah. For the wounds for me, I'm going to stick with my pick earlier and go for Clara Towson. Just why not? Who knows? It's probably less. It's probably more likely than Rybakina winning Wimbledon. So I'm
no,
going to pick Clara
really,
Towson. No, not at
no,
all.
no.
To be honest, Rybakina was an absolutely brilliant pick, but for Wimbledon, I won't say any more than that. But it's still, it's a dark horse. Is my point. I feel like a dark horse is going to win it. Maybe if I could just say
Yeah,
dark horse,
that's
I'd leave
fine.
it at that. But
Then we'll actually have to
Clara
like fight over who is a dark horse and who isn't when someone unexpected wins it. But if Serena Williams wins it, she is a dark horse at this
yeah,
point. I think she totally is.
I mean, she
Yeah.
totally is. Yeah. I'm sticking with Towson. Why not, for a laugh? And then on the men's side, do you know what? I'm sticking with Medvedev. I think Medvedev does have a pretty tough draw. You're right, but he's overdue a tournament where he's playing properly well. Los Cabos was amazing for me. If he can bring that sort of form in to here, he can beat anybody when he's playing well. I know it'll be tough. RBA will be really difficult, but if it's RBA, if it's Kyrgios, whatever. But yeah, if he has those sort of matches to play himself into form, he is one of those guys that when he has a tough match like that, he comes out the other side looking better. I felt like Australia, I had a really rough draw getting to the final there, and he showed Felix in 5 sets. It was like Van de Zandschulp was a really difficult match, and he kind of came out the other side of that. Kyrgios, of course, as well in the second round. Yeah, obviously Kyrgios maybe not playing quite as well as he is now, but yeah, Medvedev for me, tough draw almost makes him more favourable for me, because if he does come through those rounds, I think he'll play himself into form. So I'm going to stick with Medvedev. Right, thanks Damien. That was a really good draw breakdown. We will end there. Thank you very much for everybody who is listening for listening this far through. Damien, thank you for coming on as always. If you want to catch any of Damien's work, you can go to @Damian Kust on Twitter. If you want to catch any of my work, you can go to @ontheline_Jack on Twitter, or you can go to onthelinetennis.uk. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll catch you next time on the On the Line Tennis podcast. Cheers. Thanks, Damien.